Since the dawn of the Round Table, one proposal has been made time after time after time.
Got any t-shirts?
Well, look no further. We have our very first Round Table apparel. Round Table Black and Blue. Available in premium tee, women's tee, and a hoodie. This is just the first of many, and as we continue making them, we'll start making some for Crystal Clear, Round Table After Dark, and Let's Talk with Tom, on top of more. So head over to Teespring right now, link in the description, to get your Round Table apparel. Offer ends this Sunday, February 19th, at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now let's get on with the video. Okay, so let me get one thing straight. If you think this episode was filler, stop watching Steven Universe. Hey guys, Vox here, and welcome to my review of Storm in the Room. This episode made me feel things. Okay, so picking up where the new Crystal Gems left off, the Gems are going to go put up the sign for the new car wash, and Connie and Steven are just chilling. Connie's waiting for her mom to pick her up, but she starts freaking out because her mom's not answering her phone. It cuts to nighttime. She's still not there yet. They're playing Mad Libs, and Connie, she's like filling the blanks of like crash, explosion, like all these worst case scenarios what could happen to her mom. But then her mom rushes into the house. She's like, yeah, I had a long day of doctoring. Surgery went on too long. I had to fill in for one of my colleagues. I think my patient stole my charger and my phone died, which I said in my last video was probably the case. She probably got swapped up in with a doctor. A lot of people were like, ooh, you think Homeworld's already abducting people? I knew that wasn't the case. It served as a framing device of what's gonna happen next. Steven feeling alone. He warms up some mac and cheese, and he starts eating it, but then he sees the painting of Rose in the main room, and he feels kind of uncomfortable, so he goes outside. It starts to drizzle a little bit. He's like, yeah, this is nice. This is really aesthetic. And then a storm hits, and he has to go inside. The mac and cheese is kind of ruined. He's all alone, and he looks at Rose's painting, and he says something so heartbreaking. How can I even be sure it's even you up there? He's not sure how to feel about his mom. He wants clarification on how he should feel about his mom, because over and over and over again in the series, however they try to address Steven and how he feels about Rose, they danced around it. And that's the big reason why this episode wasn't filler. It serves a very important plot point of how Steven feels about Rose. It didn't advance the Homeworld plotline, but it developed Steven in a very crucial way. And honestly, if you think character development is filler, please just stop watching Steven Universe, because it's not filler. Character development is the single most important part of Steven Universe. If you don't care about these characters and how they develop, then how the hell do you give a shit about the plot? About what's happening to these characters? I don't understand that. So he goes into Rose's room, the room brings him there, and he asks the room to bring mom, and Steven kind of meets Rose. The room replicates Rose courts, and he bonds with her. She's like, what do you want to do, Steven? And they start playing football, and there's like a really out of place yet still funny Peanuts reference of like Steven trying to kick the football and Rose sticks out of the way and Steven flies all the way up. That was weird, but whatever. I still found it funny. And yeah, it's just Steven getting what he wants, which is meeting Rose, but he still knows that it's fake. And he's like, oh man, I should have done this a long time ago. And that really got to me when he said that. And he's like tearing up, and Rose is like, Steven, don't you remember? I'm always with you. Also, one thing I like that the Crystal Universe kind of threw a nod at is how over the top Rose was when she was playing sports. Like, oh, every sport is an experience. So really nice jab at like how they portray Rose and the exaggerated speeches they give in the show. However, I want to discuss something really important. I've said before, I don't think that Steven should meet Rose because it would ruin the moral of Steven losing his mom at childbirth, that entire allegory. And I don't think this episode ruined it because Steven knows that it wasn't actually Rose. He knew going into it that he wouldn't be actually meeting Rose. I have an issue against it if Rose somehow comes back. And I've changed my opinions on this a lot, but I'm not really sure how it would feel if he meets another Rose Quartz, one of the ones that are bubbled in the zoo. Because they're not Rose, but they're still a Rose Quartz. They still look like Rose, and they're still gonna be an actual physical being. So it would be interesting, and honestly it probably will happen, even though I prefer they took a dark route. Perhaps having Yellow Diamond shatter all the Rose Quartz bubbles after she gets to humans, thinking Blue Diamond wouldn't care anymore, but of course Blue Diamond would care and be highly upset. But those are just my thoughts. We'll see how that part plays out. Anyways, back to the episode. Steven tries to take a selfie of Rose, and then he realizes none of this is real. The room and everything else is just picked up as darkness on the camera. He realizes he's just really talking to himself. He tells the room, you aren't real. And the room replica of Rose is like, I'm not? Steven says, this is just how I want you to be, but I don't know if this is actually how you really are. Lighting of the room turns to like a ominous sunset type palette, and he says, I know all the secrets you try to hide from everyone, I knew that you locked away Bismuth because she wanted to shatter gems, but then you shattered Pink Diamond, and how she just kind of disappeared. She abandoned Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, and Greg. He says that he knows what Rose really is, a liar. And the angrier and more emotional he gets, it creates a storm in the room. Steven says that she claims that she didn't want to hurt anybody, but she ended up hurting everybody, and that he feels like he's there so she wouldn't have to. That he's just taking the blame, taking the fault for her mess. That because of Rose, Homeworld has it out for Earth. That it's actually just her fault. That all this pain and suffering is caused by Rose. It was speculated for a while this is how Steven views himself. That he's just a cover-up. That he's Rose's scapegoat. And that Steven, deep down, kind of hates himself for all of that. And a lot of people are also theorizing maybe Steven is actually Rose's weapon. Rose didn't just leave him to experience childbirth, to have her own child, but that Steven was her experiment, her weapon to defeat Homeworld. But I highly doubt that's the case. The storm finally stops as he calms down, and the replica of Rose says, Steven, you know all that isn't true. You watched the VHS tape that I left you. You know that I meant all of that. And Steven comes to terms and says, yes, I do know that's how you actually feel about me. And Steven accepts and says, yes, I know you didn't want me to deal with your problems, but you're a part of me now and I just need to accept it. That he has to deal with what she left behind. Her baggage is now his baggage. And he hugs Rose and the room starts raining, and then he leaves the room. And then Greg and the Gems come back, they have pizza. Greg's like, sorry, I tried to get pepperoni, but they were all out, so I only got mushroom, and Steven's okay with it, and the episode ends. Oh! First of all, before I continue any further, props to Ivy and Sarashi for the music in this episode. As always, it was top notch. It really added to the emotion, and like usually Steven Universe, unlike other shows, would be like really dramatic and like dun 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 dun, and just cliche, scary, dramatic music during moments like this. It's a lot more subtle, yet still has a presence. And I know they haven't even posted any of the tracks from Out of This World as they're recording this video, but oh my god, I hope they update the SoundCloud soon, because there's just so many good tracks from the past few episodes that need to be released. The art in this episode is also pretty good. Just like how they did the scene with the clouds was really well directed. Props to all the storyboarders, and this was actually storyboarded by Colin and Jeff, when usually it would be a Lauren and Hillary episode. So I guess they just thought Lauren and Hillary really couldn't handle this episode. I don't really know. But hey, if it got us this finished product, then I'm more than okay with that. And yeah, this episode was far from filler. We had development of Steven finally met Rose, kind of, in a way that didn't actually ruin the moral and allegory for it. He's finally able to determine how he feels about Rose. That is extremely important for moving forward. Now that his mind is made up about Rose, even though I'm sure he'll learn some new information, he'll still know that Rose did love him. Rose did love Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, and Greg, and that he wasn't just her way of escaping and running away from her problems. That Rose actually did really want to have Steven. And if you think how Steven feels about Rose wasn't important or is qualifies as filler, get the fuck out of here. This episode did its job of having Steven, and therefore the audience, find out how he feels about Rose, to figure all of this shit out. And now that that's out of the way, he can properly focus on how he's going to take care of the diamonds and the inevitable invasion on Earth. Am I disappointed that we didn't get anything on Pink Diamond, or we didn't see Pink Diamond, or know any more like secrets about Rose revealed? Not really, because this episode made up for that in what was in it, and the way it was all executed. It flew by a little bit fast. This episode was really fast paced. I feel like that we could have had a lot less of the Connie stuff. So those are my complaints with the episode. It didn't live up to expectations. I'm not going to say that it did. I'm not going to be like, oh, this was the best episode ever. But that doesn't mean I was disappointed in it or consider it filler. Again, you can call something filler if it doesn't advance the characters or plot in any way. This episode advanced the most important character, Steven. And that's not a cop-out. That's not me defending the show. That's me explaining why something isn't fucking filler. Because at the time of recording this review, I've already seen people who already watched the episode calling it filler, or, oh, this episode was shit, or, oh, how do you guys watch this show? If you guys are so sick of filler, why don't you just stop watching Steven Universe for a while, and then come back when there's like, the season 4 is done, and we're on season 5, and then you can catch up and get all the plot that you want in one sitting. Because honestly, it feels like sometimes people just watch clips of the show on YouTube and they assume the entire show's like that. So then when they get into the show, they're like, why is there so much filler? When really the show is never intended to be just solely one thing. Like, God, I want to see the Steven Universe fanbase read a manga and call chapters filler, because I feel like it definitely would have happened.
Wow, Naruto didn't meet Sasuke in this chapter. Ugh, Kishimoto's just full of filler. What's up with all these flashbacks? Filler, filler, filler! 800 chapters and we still don't know what the One Piece is? Oh my god, this manga is full of filler!
So regardless of all that, I really enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed this episode. It got me really in my feels. I never want to feel the way I felt watching this episode again. But of course I'm going to, because it's Steven Universe. But these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours, so please comment down below. What did you think of this episode? Did it not meet your expectations? Did it exceed your expectations? Do you wish we saw more of Rose, less of Rose? Let's get this discussion going. And also, for a while, a lot of people wanted this. A lot of people were predicting that Steven would go into Rose's room and ask the room to make Rose. And I feel like a lot of those people are going to be the ones calling this episode filler. Just because we didn't get anything on Homeworld or the Diamonds. Can't have your cake and eat it too. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, it really helps us out. Follow us on social media, links to everything in the description down below. All Strict Vots, signing out.